Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. I'm going to try to make it short today. Don't have a lot of time. College basketball, NBA, NHL, college football, you know the deal. Golf, we'll look ahead to the next tournament. News and notes, we'll preview tonight's episode of The Masked Singer and my best bet of the day. College basketball is where we will start today's show. We will quickly go over the results from last night, and we will look ahead to everything tonight. Oklahoma State over UMass Lowell 80-58. Number 25 USC over Florida Gulf Coast 78-61. A&M Corpus Christi over IUPUI 65-59. Miami over FAU 68-66. Number 5 Villanova over Howard 181. Number 6 Purdue over Wright State 96-52. Number 7 Duke over Gardner-Webb 92-52. Number 13 Kentucky over Mountain Mary's 80-55. Kent State over Oberlin 84-38. Dartmouth over NVU Leiden 114-74. Western Illinois over Iowa Wesleyan 97-71. Mercer over Life University 78-50. Vermont over Worcester 81-48. Georgia Southern over Bob Jones 103-51. Cornell over Colgate 78-68. VMI over Keystone 97-35. Delaware State over Region 84-30. Purdue Fort Wayne over Austin Peay 65-60. Middle Tennessee over Winthrop 76-65. Chattanooga over Tennessee Tech 69-62. Sacred Heart over Fisher College 109-49. Evansville over DePauw 69-58. Cleveland State over Edinburgh 75-61. Norfolk State over William & Mary 94-71 or 91-74. Towson over Hampton 78-54. Northeastern over BU 49-48. James Madison over Eastern Kentucky 79-78. Creighton over Nebraska 77-69. Georgia over SC State 76-60. Cincinnati over Alabama A&M 89-66. Richmond over Georgia State 94-78. Penn over Lafayette 85-57. Brown over Johnson & Wales Rhode Island 98-47. Rutgers over NJIT 75-61. Pitt over UNC Wilmington 59-51. UCF over Jacksonville 63-54. Troy over Jacksonville State 69-65 and triple overtime. That's crazy. Iona over Hofstra 82-74. Yale over Siena 82-54. Fairfield over Medgar Evers 110-55. Monmouth over Lehigh 85-75. Number 14 Alabama over South Alabama 73-68. Concordia, Texas upsets Incarnate Word 82-78. Yale Monroe over Champion Christians 114-59. Number 11 Memphis over St. Louis 90-74. Number 15 Houston over Virginia 67-47. UIC over Trinity, Illinois 91-50. Tennessee State over Fisk 111-56. Rice over Southern 81-63. Murray State over Illinois State 77-65. Bradley over Missouri S&T 92-66. Iowa State over Alabama State 68-60. Wichita State over Tarleton 65-51. Northwestern over New Orleans 83-67. Texas Rio Grande over Paul Quinn 85-68. Loyola Chicago over Chicago State 92-56. Abilene Christian over Texas Arlington 80-71 in overtime. NC State over Central Connecticut 79-65. Notre Dame over High Plains 70-61. Number 18 North Carolina over Charleston 94-83. Georgetown over American 79-57. UTSA over Denver 78-64. Seton Hall over number 4 Michigan 67-65. UTEP over Northern New Mexico 88-53. Iowa over NC Central 86-69. Santa Clara over Nevada 96-74. Arizona over North Dakota State 97-45. BYU upsets number 12 Oregon 81-49. UC Irvine over La Verne 100-41. UC San Diego over San Diego Christian 97-58. Cal Baptist over Jackson State 77-64. Pacific over Stanislaus State 65-46. And Cal State Fullerton over George Washington 74-59. Now we look ahead to tonight and today. 1 o'clock on the SEC Network Plus channel and ESPN Plus. Houston Baptist, Texas A&M. My projection is 26 3/4. I did not do totals in either college basketball or the NBA today. I just didn't have the time to do it. And it is 24.5. Total's 140.5. I have a little edge on Texas A&M, so I'm going to lay it. Next up is Corpus Christi against Denver at 2 o'clock from the UTSA Convention Center. My projection is Denver by 6. And it's Corpus Christi by 1.5. I'm taking Denver plus 1.5 and plus 104 straight up. Central Connecticut and UMass Lowell at 5 o'clock from Mohegan Sun Arena. My projection is Lowell by 17.5. And it's 9.5. I'm going to lay the points on UMass Lowell. 5:30 IUPUI and UTSA. My projection is UTSA by 25.5, and it's 10.5. I'm laying the points. Merrimack against Army at 6 o'clock. My projection is Army by 11, and it is Army 1.5. I'm laying the 1.5 of the Army. I love that pick. BC Rhode Island on CBS Sports Network. My projection is Rhode Island by 2.25, and it is Rhode Island by 5.5. I'm actually going to take Boston College in the points here. I'm surprised that Rhode Island's that big of a favorite. LIU, number 23, UConn, 6:30 Fox Sports 2. My projection is UConn 27.5, and it's 25.5. I could lay it with UConn. It's a slight edge. 7 o'clock Big Ten Network. George Mason at number 20, Maryland. My projection is Maryland by 11.5, and Maryland is giving 10.5. Total's 137.5. It's a super juiced over, but I like it anyway. Stetson, Miami of Ohio. My projection is Miami of Ohio by 5, and it's 9.5. I'm taking Stetson. Michigan State against Butler on Fox Sports 1. My projection is Butler by 1.5, and it's Michigan State by 2.5. I'm taking Butler plus 2.5 and plus 122 on the money line. Drexel, St. Joe's. My projection is Drexel by 1/4. And this line, for some reason I don't see it. The Drexel St. Joe's line. To Vegas Insider I go. And it is Drexel St. Joe's. It's 1.5 St. Joe's, and the total's 145.5. So I'm gonna go with the under in this game. LaSalle and Delaware. My projection is Delaware by 14.75, and it's Delaware 7.5. I'm laying 7.5 with Delaware. Lipscomb, Dayton. My projection is Dayton 5.5. And it is Dayton by 10.5. I'm taking Lipscomb. Binghamton, Columbia. My projection is Columbia by 5.5. And it's Binghamton 1.5. I'm taking Columbia plus 1.5 and even money on the money line. Harvard, Albany. My projection here is Harvard by 7, and it's Harvard 5.5. Total's 138.5. Feeling under in this game. Loyola, Maryland at Coppin State. My projection is Loyola by 3 5/8. And it is Loyola by 5.5. So not enough to pull the trigger on Coppin State. Go to the total, and I'll pick the over. Charleston Southern and Wake Forest. I project Wake by 17. And it's 19.5. I'm taking Charleston Southern. Marist, Princeton. My projection is Princeton by 10.25. And it is 7 and 129. So I'm going to lay the 7 with Princeton. St. Peter's and Wagner. My projection is Wagner by 1. And Wagner is giving 4. And the total is 127.5. That's according to Circa. So I'm going to take St. Peter's in the points. Ryder and Bucknell. My projection is Ryder by a quarter. And it's Bucknell by 1, total 144.5. I'm going to take let's go with the under. I just think that's actually no. Yeah, that's an over game, actually. 144.5. I actually think that's an over. Toledo and Oakland, my projection is Toledo by 2 3/4. And it's Toledo by 1.5. Total's 145.5. I'm taking the over. Central Arkansas and number 9 Baylor on the Big 12 Network, ESPN Plus. My projection is Baylor by 25 1/4. And it is Baylor 33.5. I'm taking Central Arkansas on the points. Northern Iowa at number 16 Arkansas. My projection is Arkansas by 15. And it is Arkansas giving... Some of these lines are hard to find today. It is 13.5 and 142.5. Let's rock and roll with another over. A couple games we could skip. Xavier, Louisiana, and Louisiana, Kansas Christian, and Kansas City. VCU, Vandy. My projection is Vandy by 1. And it is 6.5. I'm taking VCU and the 6.5, and they might win outright. I don't know if they actually will. Detroit and Mississippi State. My projection is Mississippi State by 16.5. And it's 15.5. Total's 103.5. I'm taking the over. Montana State and South Dakota State. My projection is South Dakota State by 7, and it's 10.5. I'm taking Montana State in the points. NC State and Oklahoma State from Mohegan Sun Arena. My projection is NC State by 1, and it is Oklahoma State by 4.5. And by the way, this game's on CBS Sports Network. I'm taking NC State plus 4.5 and plus 134 on the money line. Tulane and Florida State on the ACC Network. My projection is FSU by 13 3/4. And it is 17.5. Total's 140.5. I'm taking Tulane and the points. Omaha, Kansas State. My projection is Kansas State by 9 3/4. And it's 17.5. I'm taking Omaha and the points. Northern Colorado at number 8 Texas. 8:30 on the Longhorn Network. My projection is Texas by only 13.5. And it's 20.5. I'm taking Northern Colorado in the points. Valpo Stanford on Pac-12 Network. My projection is Stanford by 17 1/4, and it is 12.5. I'm laying the points with Stanford. Missouri State and Sam Houston. My projection is Missouri State by 0.5, and it's Missouri State by 4.5. I'm taking Sam Houston plus the points. Texas Southern Air Force, 9 o'clock. My projection is Southern by 6. I know that's a crazy line, and it's... Oh, they're favored, 2.5. Okay. So I'm going to lay the points with Texas Southern. Didn't expect them to be favored here. Darn it. Fox Sports 1, St. John's, Indiana. My projection is St. John's by 1/4. And it's Indiana by 5.5. I'm taking St. John's plus the 5.5 and plus 220 to win straight up. Love that pick. Prairie View A&M and Grand Canyon. My projection is Grand Canyon by 14 3/4, and then it's 11.5. I'm laying it with Grand Canyon. We can skip George Fox and Portland State at 10 o'clock, and then you have Utah Valley, Long Beach State, another 10 o'clock game. My projection is Valley by 2.5, and it is Long Beach State by 1.5. I'm taking Utah Valley plus the 1.5 and plus 102 on the money line. UC Davis and Pepperdine. My projection is Pepperdine by 0.5, and it's Davis by 0.5. So it's basically a pick 'em. I'm going to go Pepperdine minus 114 plus a half minus. We'll just do minus 114 on the money line. Weird thing is that they're favored on the money line, but against the spread, UC Davis is favored, which is weird. So I'm taking Pepperdine minus 114 money line. Little Rock and Loyola Marymount. My projection is Marymount by 14.25, and it's 13.5. Total's 136.5. That's low. I'm taking the over. Bellarmine St. Mary's. My projection is St. Mary's by 14.75, and it is 16.5. Total's 132.5. I'll take the over. North Florida UCLA. Number 2 UCLA. 10:30 Pac-12 Network. I project UCLA by 24.5, and it's 26.5. I'm taking North Florida plus the 26.5. And last but not least, UC Riverside San Diego. My projection is Riverside by 3.75. Meanwhile, San Diego's favored by 1.5. I'm taking Riverside plus the 1.5 and plus 110 to win outright. Now I'll move on to the NBA. I'm going to recap last night's games, and I will look ahead to tonight. Warriors over the Nets 117.99. Jazz over the Sixers 120.85. And the Clippers over the Spurs 106.92. Now we look ahead to tonight. And there's some interesting games for sure. No totals. I apologize. First up is Warriors Hornets. My projection is Hornets by 4.75. And it is Hornets by 1.5. That is so low. So low. I love Charlotte minus the 1.5. Love it. Pacers Pistons. My projection is Pacers by 3.75, and it's 6. I'm taking Detroit. Celtics Hawks. My projection is Hawks by 5.25. It's 4.5. Total 215.5. Over. I'm taking the over in that game. Cavs Nets at 7:30. Celtics Hawks at 7:30 as well. My projection is Nets by 14.75, and it's Brooklyn by... Ooh, the line's down on FanDuel. I'm going to quickly see if DraftKings has this line up for the Brooklyn Nets game, and it's 10.5. I'm going to lay the 10.5 with Brooklyn. Magic Knicks. My projection is Knicks 16, and it's Knicks 11.5. I'm laying the 11.5 with the Knicks. By the way, Brooklyn just popped up as 9.5 on FanDuel, so I'll lay that as well. ESPN tonight, Lakers Bucks. You would assume Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy. I don't know if Mark Jackson will join him, although he was on the call with them for the regular season opener, Celtics Knicks. But I just think that was because it was a Knicks home game. I think that was a little bit of favoritism by ESPN right there. But it is Lakers Bucks. It's a great game. My projection is 7.75 for Milwaukee, and it's 8.5. Totals 216.5. I'm going to take the under. Next up is at 8 o'clock, the Kings and the Timberwolves. I project the pick'em. And it's Minnesota by 2.5. I'm taking Sacramento plus 2.5. I don't know if they'll win. Rockets Thunder. My projection is the Thunder by 8. And it's 3.5. I'm going to lay the 3.5 with the Thunder. 10 o'clock, ESPN, the Mavericks and the Suns. My projection is the Suns by 13.75 because of no Luka Doncic, and it's 8.5. I'm going to lay the points with the Suns. And the Bulls and the Trailblazers. My projection is the Blazers by 4.25. And it's Portland by 1.5. I'm going to lay the 1.5 with Portland tonight. All right, now I'll move on to the NHL. I will recap last night's big window and look ahead to a small window for tonight. Maple Leafs over the Predators 3-0. Panthers over the Isles 6-1. Rangers over the Habs 3-2. Flyers over the Flames 2-1 in OT on a game winner by Cam Atkinson. Sabres over the Penguins 2-1. Coyotes over the Blues 3-2. Sharks over the Wild 4-1. Jets over the Oilers 5-2. Stars over the Red Wings 5-2. Hurricanes over the Golden Knights 4-2. Ducks over the Capitals 3-2 in overtime on a game winner by Trevor Zegras Senators Devils postponed due to the Senators COVID outbreak. 3 games tonight, 9 o'clock. You have the Avalanche and the Canucks. The Avs are minus 172. Vancouver's plus 142. Over under 6. Overs minus 110. Unders minus 112. Avalanche minus 1 Avs plus 152. Canucks plus 1 Avs minus 188. My pick for this game is going to be the Avalanche in regulation at minus 110. 10 o'clock TNT, the Blackhawks at the Kraken. The Kraken are minus 154. The Blackhawks plus 128. Over under 5.5. Overs minus 114. Unders minus 106. Blackhawks plus 1.5 is minus 215. Kraken minus 1.5 is plus 172. The Kraken should not be this big of a favorite against anybody. I don't get it. The Blackhawks are playing a little better since firing their coach and kind of getting past the unfortunate incident within their organization. So I'm going to take the Blackhawks as a road underdog, plus 128 to win outright at Seattle. And 10:30, the Capitals at the Kings. The Capitals are minus 122. The Kings are plus 102, over under 5.5. Overs minus 105, unders minus 115. Caps minus 1.5 is plus 220. Kings plus 1.5 is minus 280. I'm going to go with the under 5.5 at minus 115 for that pick. Now I'll move on to college football. I will recap last night's games and look ahead to tonight's action. Toledo over Ohio, 35-23. Eastern Michigan over Western Michigan, 22-21. Miami of Ohio over Bowling Green, 34-7. And for tonight's games, only 2. 7 o'clock ESPN 2, Northern Illinois at Buffalo. My projection is Northern Illinois is a 3-point road favorite, total 63.5. Meanwhile, this is the one sport I did the totals for. It's a pick'em in 59.5. So my bigger edge here lies on the over. So I'm going to go over 59.5, minus 106, and then in the pick'em I'd go Northern Illinois. Maybe I'd do a same game parlay there, which would be pretty interesting. And then on ESPNU at 7 o'clock, you have Central Michigan and Ball State. My projection is Ball State by 1, total 58-45. It's Central Michigan by 1.5, total 58.5. So very close numbers all around, and I have to do a slight edge somewhere, and that slight edge is going to be on Ball State plus the points here. And plus 106 on the money line. I think they win the game outright, and a slight edge on the under as well. Now I look ahead to the next golf tournament that is coming up. And that is the RSM Classic from Sea Island Sea Course. So it should be a fun tournament. It's in Georgia. Tee times. Among notable golfers. 9:30. Sam Piercy, Brandon Hagee, Doug Gim, Luke List, Chris Kirk, Ryan Henley, Vincent Taylor. 9:40. Henrik Norlander, Wyndham Clark, Alex Thoreau, Danny Lee, Jonathan Vegas, Mackenzie Hughes, Cheston Headley. 9:50. Patton Kazir, Scotty Scheffler, JT Potson, Louis Olson, Stuart Sink, Lucas Donald, Charles Howell III, Brendan Todd, Hudson Swafford. 10 o'clock, Joaquin Neiman, Tyler Duncan, Cam Davis, Keith Mitchell, Adam Scott, Brian Harmon, and 10:10, Henry Higgs, Sebastian Munoz, Seb Straka, DJ Tron, Adam Hadwin, 10:20, You got Davis Thompson in there. Not really anybody else of significance in there. 10:30. Michael Giglick's in that window. 10:40. Matthew Neesmith, Patrick Rogers, Sam Ryder, Doc Redmond, Kyle Stanley, Adam Cook, Rory Sabatini, Camilo Vegas, Brendan Steele, Adam Putnam. 10:50. J.J. Spawn, Taylor Gooch, Matt Wallace, Taylor Hogue, Dylan McCarthy, Bryce Garnett, Tyson McCumber, Scott Stallings, Emiliano Grillo. 11 o'clock, Joel Dahman, Cesar V, Adam Landry, Joaquin Herman, Zach Johnson, Matt Jones, Lucas Glover, Kevin Kisner, Keegan Bradley, Harry English. 11:10, Richie Wierenski, Seamus Power, Lucas Griffin, Brant Snecker, Justin Rose, Webb Simpson, Jason Day, Adam Long, Dylan Fratelli. 11:20, Kevin Stroman, Vincent Whaley, Roger Sloan. 11:30, Mito Pereira, Luke Hodges. So, some names in there. And to the odds board we go. I hate picking the favorite, but I just think this person is going to come through, and they should not be a co-favorite with this person. So I'm going to go Scotty Scheffler, 14-1 to win the RSM Classic. All right, now I'm going to do news and notes very quickly. There's some things that I want to go over. Frank Gore open to NFL return. He says I might F it and go with them if in case a contender reaches out. So Kevin Hayes scores last night to tie the game for the Flyers and pointed to the sky for his brother. That was really, really cool. And he's saving the puck for his nephew, which is great. Here's something very interesting. The Red Sox ownership group, the Fenway Sports Group, bought controlling stake in the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's very interesting because the Penguins have a good ownership group, in my opinion. I wonder why. That's very strange. Some very interesting news. The Staples Center is to be renamed the Crypto.com Arena beginning December 25th. That is a big deal because the Staples Center is a big-time building. Home of the Lakers, home of the Clippers, home of the Kings. And the Staples Center is not going to be the Staples Center come Christmas. Steve Nash says that the Nets are not elite yet. And he says they're not in that category with the Warriors, Heat, Bulls, and Bucks. We've got a lot of work to do. Anthony Davis, after their game a couple nights ago against the Bulls, we suck. The college football playoff rankings from last night, the top 7 did not change, as it's Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Michigan, Michigan State. 8's Notre Dame, 9's Oklahoma State, 10's Wake, 11 Baylor, 12 Ole Miss, 13 Oklahoma, 14 BYU, 15 Wisconsin, 16 through 20 Texas A&M, Iowa, Pitt, San Diego State, North Carolina State, and 21 through 25 Arkansas, UTSA, Utah, Houston, and Mississippi State. Deion denies TCU head coach rumors. Never believe rumors, he says. Yankees pursuing Corey Seager, as the Dodgers also want to bring him back, and the Yankees are definitely interested in trading for all-star first baseman Matt Olson. Richard Sherman to miss a couple weeks with a grade 2 calf strain. 49ers running back Elijah Mitchell has a broken finger. Jawan Howard gets a 5-year contract extension from the Michigan Wolverines that runs through the 25-26 season. Well-deserved. Justin Verlander won't sign with the Angels as he's likely to sign with the Tigers or an East Coast team over the Angels. The Red Sox are eyeing Javier Baez. Wow, that would be a crazy ad for Boston. Where would he play? At second? Noah Syndergaard signs with the Angels, 1 year, $21 million. That's a good 1 year try it out for Syndergaard. And if the team's not good, they could trade him at the deadline. And if he's good. Joe Harris to miss some time with a sprained ankle. Zion cleared for one-on-one drills. Evan Mobley out 2 to 4 weeks with a right elbow sprain. That's a big loss for the Cavaliers. Luka didn't damage knee or ankle, and he's out for the game tonight. LeBron James could return Friday against the Celtics. That's a huge deal. Trent Brown says he almost died, and he considered retirement after a mishap that nearly killed him during the 2020 season. He says it was scary. The Ravens released Le'Veon Bell, 83 yards and 2 touchdowns in 5 games. Yikes. Joey Bosa placed on the COVID list, as well as Jerry Tillery ahead of the Sunday night game against the Steelers. DeMar DeRozan says joining the Lakers was done, as he felt that it was a done deal that he was signing with the Lakers before the sign and trade for Russ, or before the trade for Russell Westbrook. Jonathan Marchessault in COVID protocol for the Vegas Golden Knights. Sammy Blaze out for the year with the torn ACL. That's a big loss for the Rangers. That was a trade acquisition that they got Pavel Buchnevich for. That does not look good for the Rangers right now. Don't they wish they had Pavel Buchnevich? And some New York City news. New Year's Eve in Times Square to return to full strength with vaccinated spectators per Mayor de Blasio. All right, Masked Singer tonight. It is the Final Four of Group B, so it is the Group B final, or Group B semifinal. We're down the Mallard, Caterpillar, Queen of Hearts, and Banana Split. Should be a good show. 2 eliminated again. Now the question is, for the second consecutive week, do they use the take it off buzzer? So the Mallard hints about being in a famous family. He performed a song 2 weeks ago that Luke Bryan asked him to sing. And he performed Play Something Country by Brooks and Dunn. My guess for this, at the moment, Lionel Richie. Caterpillar, someone that was always lonely. And then he was away from his family and for a variety of reasons. And then he was welcomed with open arms back. And he performed It's Gonna Be Me by NSYNC. I think that this is Joey McIntyre of New Kids on the Block. Queen of Hearts is easily the best contestant on the show. I don't see how she doesn't win. This is the Sun from last year. She was called out a ton, and the press wasn't kind to her. There was a cowboy hat, and she performed River by Bishop Briggs. This is a tough one. I think this is a big star. And at the moment, I have Gwen Stefani. Banana Split. They said the last time they worked together was a nightmare. There was a vacuum, flowers, and they performed Let Her Rip by the Chicks. And my current guest for this is Carrie Underwood and Brad Paisley. And the two that I think that go home tonight, actually, I'm going to say Banana Split goes home and Caterpillar goes home. Queen of Hearts survives, and I'm saying the Mallard survives another week. Although I won't be shocked if Split survives and Mallard goes home, but there's always a shocking one, and I don't think anybody thought that Pepper would be going home last week. So I'm going to say that Banana Split goes home and Caterpillar goes home as well. Last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. There's a couple that I really liked, and I'm going to go in college basketball. I'm going to take the St. John's Red Storm plus the 5.5 against Indiana. I just think they're better than Indiana. St. John's should be favored in this game. It's down to 5. I don't care. I'm actually going to lay 2 units on this one. So 2 units on St. John's plus the 5 against Indiana. So there you have it for today's show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything from last night, looking ahead to everything tomorrow. I may or may not do hit or miss for the 2020 Major League Baseball draft. We'll see. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.